Prophet Robbie Warren had just set the entire gospel community on fire, and the heat was spreading fast. It all started when she went public with a message that left no room for confusion, calling out three of the biggest names in gospel: Brian Kay, J. Drew Sheard, and Bishop Gates. You won't believe the kind of storm her words created, because this was not just another church disagreement. This was a direct hit on what she called the very foundation of holiness standards. Her tone was not soft. Her words were not careful. She spoke with urgency, as if the future of the church depended on it. And let me tell you, the people listening felt every bit of that pressure. This was the kind of moment that made even her supporters shift in their seats, because she was going after giants and she wasn't backing down. For years, Prophet Robbie Warren had been known as a voice that never compromised. Her followers admired her for one reason: she said what others were too afraid to say. She had built her reputation by speaking hard truths about holiness, even when it made her unpopular. This is how she became a name that people in the gospel world paid attention to. And now, standing firm on that same foundation, she accused these three gospel leaders of something most people would never dare to say in public: of letting go of true holiness for the sake of fitting in with the world. But here is the shocking part. She didn't just question their public image. She pointed to their lifestyles, ministry choices, and even the way they carried themselves as proof that they were slipping away from the real meaning of holiness. She claimed that somewhere along the way, the church had become too soft, too willing to mix in with cultural trends instead of standing apart. To her, holiness wasn't just a nice idea. It was a standard that demanded sacrifice, discipline, and the courage to be different. And in her eyes, Brian Kay, J. Drew Sheard, and Bishop Gates were not showing that standard in its truest form. This is where it gets interesting. Robbie didn't give every example in detail, but she said enough for people to start connecting the dots themselves. And in the world of gospel music, when people start connecting dots, the whispers turn into waves very quickly. What made this story different was the way she delivered her words. She didn't speak like she was just sharing her opinion. She spoke like she was delivering a prophetic warning. The craziest part was that she warned of spiritual consequences, not just for the three men she named, but for the church as a whole. She made it sound like if these compromises continued, it wouldn't just be about music or image anymore. It would be about the very soul of the gospel movement. And as her words spread across social media, her supporters cheered her boldness, while her critics accused her of tearing down leaders who had served the church for years. But destiny took an unexpected turn when rumors began to swirl about deeper issues hiding behind this public clash. Some insiders claimed that this wasn't only about holiness, it was also about influence, control, and power in the gospel industry. These whispers suggested that there were long-standing tensions behind the scenes, and Robbie's words had just ripped the lid off something much bigger than anyone expected. Now, the gospel community wasn't just arguing over holiness. They were starting to wonder what else had been hidden from them all this time. After Prophet Robbie Warren's bold and fearless words shook the gospel community, all eyes turned to the three men at the center of the storm: Brian Kay, J. Drew Sheard, and Bishop Gates. People waited for their reactions, like they were waiting for the next twist in a drama, and you won't believe how differently each one handled it. Brian Kay was the first to speak, but his tone was nothing like Robbie's. Instead of firing back, he took a calm and measured approach. He admitted that no one was perfect, including himself, but made it clear that his life and ministry were committed to holiness. He said his journey was about growth, grace, and doing the best he could to walk in God's will. Let me tell you, some people respected that, seeing his humility as a sign of strength, while others thought it was too soft of a response to such strong accusations. J. Drew Sheard, on the other hand, took a different path. He acknowledged that self-reflection was important and even said he was open to correction if it came from God. But here is the shocking part. He questioned whether such a public rebuke was the right way to handle things. Jay hinted that matters like these might be better addressed privately within the church walls, rather than being broadcast for the whole world to hear. This statement alone set off another wave of debates, with some agreeing that private accountability was better, while others argued that public influence required public correction. This is where it gets interesting. Jay's words made some wonder if he was trying to protect unity in the church or simply trying to avoid more public scrutiny. Then there was Bishop Gates. Unlike the other two, he kept almost completely silent in public. He didn't go on social media, he didn't make long statements, nothing. Insiders claimed he was handling things internally, seeking wisdom and prayer before making any move. The craziest part was how his silence was interpreted in two totally opposite ways. Some saw it as a wise, mature response, refusing to get caught up in the noise, while others saw it as avoiding the truth. The lack of words only made people talk more, filling in the blanks with their own theories about what was really going on. What made this story different was how each response revealed a different side of the gospel world. Brian Kay's calm grace, Jay Drew's questioning of the process, and Bishop Gates' reserved silence all added fuel to the fire. Instead of calming things down, their reactions seemed to make people dig even deeper into the controversy. And destiny took an unexpected turn again when whispers started that other big names in gospel music, people with influence and power, were considering speaking up, either to defend the accused or to back Robbie's claims. Some even said this might be the start of a chain reaction that could expose much more than anyone was ready for. The controversy didn't just stay between Prophet Robbie, Warren, and the three gospel leaders. It spread like wildfire across the entire gospel community. Fans, ministers, and even industry insiders began choosing sides, and you won't believe how intense the reactions became. Social media platforms turned into battlegrounds. On one side were those who praised Robbie's courage, calling her a fearless truth teller who dared to confront what many had been too scared to address. They believed her bold stand was exactly what the gospel world needed to bring back the uncompromising call to holiness. Let me tell you, these supporters weren't just agreeing quietly. They were posting, sharing, and debating for hours, determined to keep her message alive. But here is the shocking part. There was just as much resistance from those who felt Robbie had gone too far. This group argued that Brian Kay, J. Drew Sheard, and Bishop Gates had dedicated years to serving God's people, and that public humiliation was not the way to correct them. They accused Robbie of causing division in the church at a time when unity was needed more than ever. This is where it gets interesting. Some of Robbie's critics were not random churchgoers, but respected ministers and gospel artists themselves, which only made the debates even more heated. Every live stream, every comment section, and every interview turned into a place for people to voice their side of the argument. The craziest part was that the controversy began to shift into a bigger question. What exactly does holiness look like in today's gospel culture? Some argued that it meant sticking strictly to biblical standards no matter what was popular in the world. Others said that holiness was about the heart and intention, and that the church had to be culturally relevant to reach more people. These two views clashed hard, and neither side was backing down. What made this story different was how quickly it stopped being just about three men and one prophet. It became a conversation about the future of gospel music itself. Meanwhile, destiny took an unexpected turn when rumors started about upcoming projects and collaborations involving the very people at the center of this dispute. Some insiders claimed these projects could either heal the wounds or make the rift even deeper. Whispers suggested that certain artists were reconsidering working together because of how public the division had become. And as the weeks went by, it became clear that the fallout from Robbie's words wasn't going away anytime soon. It was only getting louder, bigger, and more unpredictable. As the dust began to settle, at least on the surface, many in the gospel community started reflecting on what this entire storm really meant. Beyond the public drama, there were deeper lessons quietly emerging. You won't believe how much this single confrontation revealed about the state of the church. At the heart of it all was Prophet Robbie Warren's message that holiness was not just a word, but a way of life that demanded sacrifice and discipline. Let me tell you, whether people agreed with her method or not, they couldn't ignore the truth she was trying to highlight. The call to live, set apart from the world, had been fading, and it was time to bring it back. But here's the shocking part. This wasn't only about holiness. It also opened up the long-avoided conversation about accountability in ministry. Robbie's accusations reminded everyone that leaders carry enormous influence, and with that comes the responsibility to set an example. Some believed her public call-out was exactly what was needed to keep that standard high. Others argued that truth should be delivered with more grace, to correct without tearing down. This is where it gets interesting. Many pastors and gospel artists began quietly reviewing their own choices, wondering if they too had compromised in ways that no one had noticed yet. The craziest part was how much this moment exposed the challenges of leading in a digital age. Social media had turned what might have been a private church dispute into a national discussion overnight. Every opinion, every comment, and every rumor was magnified until it reached millions. It became clear that spiritual leaders no longer had the luxury of handling matters quietly. Because in today's world, once a word is spoken, it travels farther and faster than anyone can control. What made this story different was that it wasn't just a passing controversy. It became a mirror, forcing the gospel community to see itself honestly, flaws and all. Destiny took an unexpected turn when insiders hinted that more revelations could still be coming. Details that might either lead to much-needed reform or deepen the existing divides. No one knew which way it would go, but everyone knew the gospel world would not be the same after this. The conversations Robbie started were still echoing in churches, in studios, and in private meetings among leaders. And as people waited for the next move, one thing was certain. This story had shaken the foundation, and the aftershocks were still being felt. The only question left was whether the church would rise stronger from it or let the cracks grow even wider